As the calendar turns from February to March, the weather starts turning from winter to spring, or at least we start wanting it to. And in particular, in agriculture, we want to know, where is the spring going to start rearing its head early? Where are there going to be thunderstorms? Where is the ground going to start thawing out? Where are we going to get planting early in? Well, I'm going to show you where I think which parts of the country are likely to have a cold spring, or at least a cold start to spring this year. I'll also show you where in the upper Midwest and some parts of the eastern Midwest will get some spring weather, but how it really won't last. It's a little bit too early. And it looks like the most of the stormy weather is going to be west and east, and I'll elaborate on that. Let's start out with the big map here. The month of March, this is my forecast. The way the weather pattern is looking, with the La Nina pattern in the jet stream still coming out of kind of a westerly, northwesterly direction for the time being, I don't really see the northern plains getting very warm. I don't look for a spring at all, at least during March up in this area, but that's really fairly typical. And there's snow on the ground down through this area, especially like northeastern North Dakota, northern Minnesota. During the month of March, the snow that's on the ground will likely be added to, taken away, but we're not going to see significant melting, I don't think, at least during March. In other words, snow's going to be on the ground very likely until April. And the rest of this region in blue, I think, will have a cooler than average March. But further to the south, warmer than average weather in the southeastern United States. And you notice right through the western part of the corn bean belt, very likely will be kind of average. And so there will be an opportunity to get some things started. As far as moisture goes, right now to me, the wettest areas look like the eastern part of the Great Lakes, the eastern part of the corn bean belt, and the Pacific Northwest. The driest weather looks like southern plains up into the central plains, mostly the western high plains part, and the southeast. Florida looks fairly dry. Weather pattern this week, we've lost that west coast ridging for the time being, so we're seeing the weather pattern flatten out. What that means is the really frigid air is retreating for the most part as we go through this week, but the cold weather will for the most part linger. There'll be a few days that get up to near freezing in places like North Dakota, but not very many. Meanwhile, south of the jet stream, warm weather will be tracking northward with some days into the 70s into parts of Iowa. That, however, will not last as I look for the colder weather to drop back south, if not by the weekend, then certainly by next week. Second week of the period now, the cold weather comes back. The dark blue, of course, meaning freezing air. The really warm stuff will retreat back to the Gulf Coast, but it will come back. But in general, a fairly cool weather pattern. Moisture, the eastern part of the country, the western part of the country is where the precipitation will be this week, and about the same pattern next week.